How much did everybody make shorting, what was it, BIOC or HMNY or EYES this morning? All three of them, perfect, perfect morning fades, straight out of DVDs, straight out of video lessons. If you have the right broker, all you had to do was click execute. Let's see who gets it. NS786 says no shares to short except EYES. Do you not have Interactive Brokers, NS786? Interactive Brokers had all three of those stocks available to short today. Nails Dog, you missed his execution to short EYES at 13.45. It's okay. At least you're on the right track. Lift Addict made 20 cents a share shorting BIOC at E-Trade. Big props to E-Trade. I really have to, call them out. They had some shares to short earlier this year. I was like, let me try them out. I opened up a $30,000 account. That account is now close to $32,000 after a month. And as you see in my trading this month, I'm still getting used to trading with a smaller account. But, today's 1,500 in 15 minutes. Coulda, woulda, shoulda been like, 2,500 or 3,000. But I'll take what I can get, E-Trade is a big part of this. And I'm up close to like 20,000 for the month, surprisingly. It's really kind of incredible to see how it takes a little adapting to, but I've been making 20, 30,000 a month, on a bigger account, and now I'm trading smaller, and it really hasn't changed my profits that much, which is kind of cool. E-Trade is not for Canadians. Yeah, don't even get me started. I wish they had just no regulations on what residence you should be. I mean, it's so stupid, but between E-Trade, Interactive Broker, SureTrader, and my high net worth broker, you're pretty much covered no matter where you live. Does the sponsored link to E-Trade work? I don't know what the sponsored link is. I was trying to do a deal with them so that we could track, my customers, so that way we could, if you ever have any problems, I could put the pressure on E-Trade, and that just doesn't work. So just sign up at E-Trade. They don't work with me. I don't make a dime off telling you about them. I just want you to be able to short these stocks. Louis says, done with Tim ranting on his recent trades. Well, Louis, I'm not done. And if you want to learn how to be a millionaire, you shouldn't be done either. Because sometimes I do rant. Because sometimes it is frustrating when you guys don't have the right brokers or don't follow instructions or break rules. That's very, very annoying. So I accept your apology, Louis, because you got to take me, the good, the bad, everything. I share everything. That is what a real teacher does, not someone who's always polite, because that's not the real world. That's not exactly how people are. So I want to be as brutally honest with you as possible. When someone breaks the rules, I get frustrated. I'm not going to hide my frustration. And I think that's the best way to be a teacher. I think that's the way that, I become the most used to you. And that's probably why I'm the only one with millionaire students. If you look at all the newsletters and all the chat rooms, no one talks about millionaire students. They make a few thousand here or there. But it's because they're not telling you the whole story, And that is why I am all about transparency and brutal honesty, Anyways, I am watching BIOC right now. It's already dropped substantially off of its highs. It's down 20% on the day. It might go down 25 or 30%, but this is pretty much near best case scenario. So I don't really want to short it. It can easily still come back. UYES also down 10%. You know, it was up nicely from the 8s to the 14s, but this is just the first down day. Most likely, I'm just going to be short overnight into tomorrow, is what it's looking like. And the same thing with HMNY, which is down 18%. These are all three supernovas. All three are potential shorts and reshorts, but I don't want to just short in the middle of the day. You guys are asking about CRIS. Yeah, I mean, this is another supernova, but this is up for several weeks. This isn't like a 2 or 3 or 4 day pump and dump. So you have to kind of respect these stocks that go up this much. Yes, it has dropped and now it's bouncing. I don't know what it does. You know, I was trying to short it here in the 339 area. I got a good short off. I wussed out in the 330s, and it went all the way down to the 280s. So this was a good short into this kind of choppiness. Now, it might be a good short. It might not. I just don't know. You really have to play it conservatively in this bull market. You know, I don't care about offerings. SGNL also did an offering the other day, and it gapped down pretty big. And now, you know, yesterday it spiked up all the way to 360, and their offering was done at what, 280 was it? So, you know, offerings are not the end all of these kinds of stocks lately. There's so many plays right now. Thoughts on CYTX? I mean, it's up a lot. I don't know these little low price biotechs. I say let them run. I know a lot of big traders who got crushed on BIOC. Many of them who are not transparent and they don't want to admit it, just like they didn't want to admit gene losses. It's kind of disgusting. But when you see these quote experts on Twitter and in chat rooms and in newsletters, and they're, you know, going short at all sorts of random prices, and they say, oh, I'm not going to alert my covers, you know, because they make any number of excuses. All I know is that when the biggest traders in the penny stock world that I see, who are making 6 and 7 figures a year, are wrong, I'm not like jumping at the chance to get in that. And the same thing with CYTX. And, you know, I just don't want to trade low price biotechs when they're spiking. I want to trade it when they have their potential first down day, just like this morning. It was so easy to make that $1,500. That was the easiest $1,500 I've ever made. And, you know, it was just because I waited for the right price action. And that's what it comes down to. And feel free to ask questions. This is my weekly Q&A webinar. I know it's in the middle of the trading day and you think I'm going to be trading. I'm probably not going to be trading. I don't know if you read my recent commentary, but I traveled from LA to Florida basically for my charity. I actually met with 2 charities yesterday, which I have to post about. And you know, it's just been a crazy few days. So I'm not like, oh my God, I need to, trade. Every time I make a trade, it's a pain in the butt. It sucks my time away. And, you know, I have to send out these alerts, and then I have to answer emails from people who have the wrong brokers or who don't get questions. It's a good thing because I shouldn't be tempted to trade over and over and over again. Now that I'm trading with a small account, you know, I think it's much better. In the past, you would have seen me make $2,000 or $3,000 even when I'm wrong, just because I'm taking such big ass positions, and it would send you the wrong idea of what the strategy is all about. I don't want to make $2,000 or $3,000 unless I'm dead on right. And this morning, I was dead on right. But when you're dead on right, you know, it's not a coincidence, and it's not going to happen every second or every minute of every day. It's when the patterns come to you. That's why I wanted you to watch that video lesson before I began, because the patterns came to me. I wasn't trying to guess the exact top. I wasn't trying to, short in the middle of the day. I was waiting for signs of cracking, and we got signs of cracking, so I shorted, and then we got signs of panic, so I covered. Let's see. I have a question. How do public offerings impact the stock? It depends on what price they do the offering at, young Dre. It's about, what is the offering at? Let me give you an example with SGNL. When SGNL did a crazy spike a few days ago, get rid of after hours. It went all the way from the 1s to the 5s, and they did their offering right in here when the stock was actually near 4. And they did an offering, I think it was at 280, and that was right here. And you can see the offering brings it down to the price roughly where the offering was done. So it depends on where the offering is. And it spiked up a little bit later, but that offering at 280 was a good thing for the company because previously, before this spike, they were at $1.80. So they're happy to get the money. And it kind of just makes the stock be like, okay, some big hedge fund is buying shares at 280. That's probably where the stock price should be. Let's see, Nels Doggy says, as the stock spiked up towards resistance and you put a short off, how do you know it's not going to punch through resistance? Good question, Nels Doggy. That would be on like my stock EYES today, where today was probably going to be the first down day. Yesterday it closed at 13.75. It was already at 13 when the market opened, but then it tried to come back to go green on the day, and it only got to 13.50. So when it tried to go green and failed, that was my sign that this probably is going to take out the day low at 13. So some people like to short right when the day low gets taken out. For me, I wanted to be a little early to give myself an extra 20 cents just in case the day low didn't get taken out. If it had bottomed at 13, I could have easily covered at 13.05, 13.10, 13.15, and still made a small profit on my short here. The reason why I shorted at 13.20, I probably should have even shorted at 13.30, but it was dropping pretty fast. Once the momentum changed, once it tried to bounce and failed, that told me that this was going to be a potentially first down day, and that told me that this could really crash pretty big. HMNY, same thing. It opened in the 420s, and it kind of tried to come back to the 440s, and then there were big-ass sell orders at 450 and 440 that were protecting it from going green on the day, and that's when I shorted. I didn't short either of these right at the market open. I waited for signs that, they were going to try and come back and that sellers were going to come in to push them back down. Does that make sense? And then the question was, could it take out the day low and the stop losses? And both HMNY and EYES took out the day low. EYES took out stop losses at 13. HMNY took out stop losses at 4. So it was rather perfect. And as I said in the video lesson, you can see the volume spike when it takes out the round number. And that's usually a good time to cover into that kind of panic. EYES has dropped another 60 cents a share, so I didn't actually even have to cover that. But I like going in with a specific plan, saying, okay, first down day potentially, failed morning bounce attempts, still red on the day. Goal is for them to take out the day low and for me to cover into it. So it's like a very 1, 2, 3 step process. You're looking for specific things to happen rather than just saying, oh, this company is overvalued. Let me just short it. It's very meticulous. I'm looking for very specific price action and very specific indicators. Does that make sense, Nels Doggy? Cool. All right. Is CRIS not a number 6 dead pump bounce? Yeah, great question, Derek. It possibly is. If you guys look at my 7-step framework, CRIS has already had the big drop from 350 down to 280, and now it's bouncing. And normally I like shorting into the bounce. This just isn't that big of a drop from 350 to 280. And it's also a multi-week run up on positive news. So it's not like a blatant pump and dump. I mean, it fits the 7-step framework, and perhaps it is now a good short here at 310, 315, because then it could take out, 280, and you could be covering, a short here from 315 in the 260s or even 250s or 240s. But I'm just not convinced. I really like shorting pump and dumps or stocks that have been manipulated by bullshit analyst reports rather than a stock that's up multiple weeks. Yeah, you have haters who say that their, technology isn't good, but I don't like having to guess on technology. HMNY was beautiful because it was up. It tripled off its lows in a few days on pure speculation put out by, a penny stock promoter. So I really will try and short those more aggressively than guessing game biotechs. A&M says, Tim, why don't you trade morning spikes? A&M because I'm scared shitless of morning spikes. I know that there's a lot of money from these people who somehow always top tick their, and they short sell right into the perfect spike, and they time it perfectly. I don't know how to do that. And I don't think they know how to do it either. I think most people who say that they top tick or catch the exact top, sometimes they do it, and then sometimes they just get blown away by their shorts, as Gene and BIOC prove. Shorting into morning spikes like that is so dangerous, especially with me who gives out alerts. Remember, I'm giving out alerts not to be, 100% right, but to show my thinking with the patterns that I teach in the DVDs and the video lessons. It all works together. I could easily short at any time I want, but would that go with my video lessons and DVDs? And the answer is no. And I find that, the reason why I stick to the video lessons and DVDs is because I put it all on paper or digital paper as to what patterns have made me so much money. And it's still tough for me 15 years later just to stick to those patterns and not be tempted to short some of these insane run-ups. But, when I started making all these DVDs and video lessons and putting down and looking at what trades made me the most money, I used to short these crazy spikes, and I would have huge-ass gains, but I would also have huge-ass losses because sometimes the crazy spikes would just keep going. So when I started teaching, I decided long ago to cut out the big losses because even if I can time it right or recover, most beginner traders can't. And I don't want to put you into that risk of disaster. So I really, really, really like shorting first red days or, the morning failed bounce attempts. Those are much safer. They're much less exciting patterns, but they're also much safer. And this is why I'm able to be fully transparent when so many people who short these morning spikes are not. They'll show you a screenshot every now and then, and they'll say, oh, I had some losses, but they won't detail those losses because they're not being honest with themselves. And as I told Louis, and as I'm telling you, I really like honesty, brutal honesty. And if I'm going to be brutally honest with myself, I'm just not good judging the risk reward shorting into morning spikes because they can keep going so much. Does that make sense? Just doing a quick scan of all these other stocks I'm watching. Nothing much is happening. Let's see. Frustrating. Oh, let me see if that answered your question. Good. Let's see. Are patents good catalysts to buy on dips and breakouts? Probably not. I'm guessing you're talking about NXTD, which says that they got a patent for voice payments, but a penny stock promoter also hyped it up. So the catalyst is not the patent. The catalyst is the penny stock promoter. And the penny stock promoter is simply rephrasing news that happened 3 days ago that did not move the stock. So I don't like penny stock promoters who have to try and reword press releases, and I don't like patents as a catalyst. I like earnings winners and I like contract winners. N786, you mentioned STXS on your watch list. It is down, buy at support. So I mentioned STXS because it was up yesterday after hours on good earnings. Today, there is no follow through, so it is not an earnings winner. Tim, you said in a past webinar that Michael Good and Tim Grittani are very quick to get in and out of OTC stocks. Can you explain this? I would ask them. I don't know exactly how fast or what they do, but they both give challenge webinars, so you should ask them. I know they're quick. I know that. Waveman says FXE potential short in coming days. No, Waveman. SFXE, if you look at the news, it's up because the chairman asked or wrote a letter saying he wants to take the company private. I don't try and guess on merger, acquisition, going private news. You guys have to follow the DVDs. I know that you're sick of hearing me say that, but the DVDs, I specifically say which catalyst to avoid and which catalyst to follow. And you guys are not watching the DVDs because you're bringing up catalysts that I don't care about. MB, sorry, Tim, back to the offering question. CRIS was an earnings loser and had an offering at 275. Your thoughts on why it's spiking yesterday and today? MB, it's not spiking yesterday and today. It's just not volatile. Maybe the fact that they could pull off an offering at roughly the current stock price is a good thing because now the company has cash. They didn't do an offering at 50% below the current prices. That would be my guess, but it's just not volatile. It's not a blatant pump and dump, so that's why you don't even see CRIS on my watch list right now. Second level says the first down day is a good indicator because traders see it as the first reason to profit, to exit. It's really just a momentum killer, BIOC has been up every day, not because it deserves to triple, but because there's momentum. And early shorts have been getting squeezed. I know a lot of shorts who are shorting this in the high twos, and they were down $1, $2 a share on their shorts. A lot of big shorts were down that much. So this is just a sign that, this stock isn't different. You always have to watch out for, a stock that could be different. Like one time it's going to spike, 500% as opposed to 200%. Those are the kinds of stocks that wipe people out, like GENE, where, it just kept going for many more days than you thought it would. I think it's up again today, right? Yeah, it's up a little bit. It's going to break through 6 probably next week. And I think Gene will be a great short when it breaks below 6, down to the mid-5s or even the low 5s. Maybe it'll even do it today. I thought that it would be stronger. But you have to be careful shorting these until they go red because the momentum, it can flip on you. And just because you think a stock is going red, as I did so many times with Gene, it's amazing that I'm still up on it on the month. I broke my own rules. Let's see. Sykes ACLS is running up to almost what looks like an all-time breakout of 3. Let's see. It won a contract. Energy implanter. Yeah, the problem with this is that, they're a semiconductor. Semiconductor stocks don't move very fast because for all intents and purposes, they're manufacturers. And I don't care how good your product is, no matter what you do, it's tough to get exponentially bigger manufacturing products as opposed to software where you can just license it or a website where it can grow easily. I don't care about ACLS. It moves way too slowly, especially when you have all these other plays that are just moving so fast. So, good idea, but focus on volatile stocks. Dan Bell says, in your DVDs, you mentioned earnings season, and I'm unsure when that is exactly. Could you elaborate? Sure, Dan Bell, it is 4 times a year. Companies have 4 quarters. They have to issue press releases, and most of them have conference calls talking about how their business is doing this quarter. It is right now. It's usually different companies report at different times. It's 4 times a year. You don't have to try and anticipate it. You don't have to try and say, oh, let me look at all the stocks that are reporting earnings today. Focus on plays after the report earnings. Focus on big percent winners. And you'll see when earnings season is just by focusing on big percent winners and looking at, what the news is that's creating these big percent gainers. I know it's a weird way to look at it, but the weird ways that I look at the stock market save you and make you money, as opposed to too many people who are like, when's earnings season? When's earnings season? And they make lists of 30 companies reporting overnight, and they're analyzing every company's earnings report, and they're like, are these good numbers? Are these good numbers? And it's all time wasted. You don't have to analyze numbers. All you have to do is wait for stocks to be big percent gainers. I take it, all the difficulty out of this. And I know that it's confusing. And I know you want to try and be prepared ahead of time. But if you learn my way, you'll be better off. And you'll focus and you'll know which ones are percent winners and earnings winners. Short Squeeze says, Timothy, what are the indicators that a stock is going to turn and squeeze shorts? Can you see it in level 2? You can see it in level 2. You can see it in price action. When a stock goes from red to green on the day. EYES tried and failed to go green on the day. Right here. It was at $12.96. It was already down $1 a share on the day. And it tried to squeeze shorts right in here, but it failed. And this failure to squeeze shorts is what led to this big $1 a share drop. It couldn't drop from 13 down to 12.30 without squeezing some shorts. But the failure to drop more, that's what led to this big drop. And that is fantastic. The same thing with BIOC. BIOC tried to come back right here, 420 to 440, and then it failed. And once it took out the low here at 415, that opened the door to all of this. So look for failures or successes on going red to green. If either EYES or BIOC had gone green on the day, I wouldn't be shorting, because it could have spiked another $1, another $2 a share from all the shorts getting squeezed. But both failed to go red to green on the day. Drinkman says, morning failed spikes give me 65% success rate on my shorts. That's awesome. That's all it takes. Gritani, good, me, we all win 60, 65, 70, 75% of the time. So it's not like we're winning 90 or 95% of the time. If you can make 50, 60, 70% of the time, that's good. Timothy, is ATOS a stock you would watch? Yeah, I'm watching it just because it's a big percent winner. I don't know where it's going to go. It hasn't really budged that much today. I don't like trading this kind of volatility. It's another low-priced biotech. I don't know where it goes. It's got resistance right here at 260. Now it's at 230s. I wouldn't be surprised to see the 3s, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the 1s. I just don't know. It's mid-range, and, I don't want to trade a stock that's mid-range. We have enough plays. Let's see. Whisper Boy says, got 2K eyes shorts, wanted to short more, shares are gone. Yep, that happens. Let's see. Young Dre says, got the shaft on CRIS, now I'm gun shy. Well, Young Dre, you should have been gun shy from the start. It's good to be gun shy. I really hate how many people are trying to be gunslingers and they're trying to go for home runs, and sometimes they're winning, and that encourages them to do more home runs or go for more home runs, and that's just not a sustainable strategy over the long term. You're going to have big losses, you're going to have big gains, you're going to have a heart attack, and you're going to inevitably say trading is not for you. And that is what so many people who learn this game, they come to that conclusion. And it's not that trading is not for them, it's that gunslinger trading is not for them. And gunslinger trading is not for anybody. But everybody is tempted by, trying to make $1 or $2 a share, trying to make, 30, 40, 50% on their gains. And they poke fun at me for being such a coward, making 5, 10, 15% here or there, and then leaving so much money on the table. And yet I'm the multimillionaire and they're not. So trust me and follow what I teach, because even though I do take profits too quickly, as evidenced by today, HMNY and EYES, and missing out on BIOC, I still make money pretty damn consistently. And if you take my approach, I have no doubt that you can either match my returns or even beat my returns, as several of my students have. That's the beautiful thing. I'm not teaching best case scenario. I'm teaching a workable scenario. Something where even when I'm traveling, even when I screw up, even when I have crappy Wi-Fi, even when I don't use any of the tricks that I could, given my net worth, where I could hide orders and I can use different routes. None of that shit is going to make you $1 million. Okay? Those are all tricks that you can use to enhance your performance after you have $1 million. And that's not what I'm interested in teaching, because only a few of my students have $1 million. Most of you have a few thousand. So my job is to teach you how to take a few thousand and turn it into a few million. So never, ever, ever be confused with, what my job is. I know exactly what I must do. A lot of people don't get it. Let's see. ARQL, second big day spike, short opportunity soon. Maybe. It's still so low priced. I really hate shorting stocks $1, $1.50, $2. My sweet spot is shorting stocks like HMNY, where I shorted it at $4.40 today and covered around $3.90, $3.95. Making 50 cents a share on like a $4 stock, making an easy 10%. That is good. Or BIOC, had I shorted the break of the day low at 414, I would have definitely covered at 390. I would have only made 20 cents a share because I'm a wuss. But, making 20, 40, 50 cents a share on a $4 stock is much easier than making 20, 40, 50 cents on a $1 or $2 stock. So keep that in mind with low price stocks. Always. Sniper, not gunslinger, is the name of the game. Exactly. I copied and pasted this one comment. I don't know who it was, but I liked it. All three of these comments are really good. Telly B got some action on EYES, made 40 cents a share. Thanks. White Knight Andy made $100 on a $600 position, and as I said in the video lesson, whether you take a $6,000 position. Did I put these in the video lesson? I don't even know. I just talk to my laptop all day, so I forget what I say out loud and what I say to myself. But with HMNY, if you make $100 on a $600 position, you could easily make $1,000 on a $6,000 position. And here's Blackfish. He said, "Love that pattern on eyes, ching ching." But this is great from Sunny. Eyes like a sniper, shorted at 12.92, covered at 12.32. Set a goal. Thanks, Tim. And that's beautiful, making 60 cents a share. So focus on stuff like that. Let's see. On NXTD, you told the catalyst was a pump after a big run up. If there are not many play this morning, would you not short it? You never know with a stock like NXTD. I mean, you have promoters. You technically do have news, and you have a lot of support here in the 260s. So if you're shorting it 270, 280, 290, or 3, there's just not that much downside. I like shorting stocks that are up a ton. I'm not just going to short every stock that is getting promoted. Do I still use Thinkorswim? No, I do not. Go to http slash blah 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 timley slash 2015 brokers, and you will see my brokers. I shift brokers based on how well they're doing, their shares to short and such. I still have an account at SureTrader, but I had to minimize my account there because, frankly, I'm just not trading there much. The last time I traded, they bought me in on a short intraday, and I don't know any other broker that does that. I lost like 16 grand, so I was like, screw that. I'll have an account with you if somehow you only have shares to short of a stock and no one else does, and that happens sometimes. So it's not worth closing my account. But I took out 90% of my money from SureTrader because they basically screwed me. You gotta train these brokers. If they screw you, you don't add more money to your account. You take money out. There's plenty of other brokers, and brokers are always trying to add more stuff to get your commissions. E-Trade never had shares to short for a decade. And now, in the past few months, they have shares to short of nearly every supernova. So they get my money. It's a very simple concept. It's very annoying because I know you just want to stick with, one broker for your entire life, but brokers change. Thinkorswim was my favorite broker back when I first got started teaching, 2007, 2008. I made a shitload of money with them, and they had shares to short. And then they got acquired by TD Ameritrade, and their shares to short sucks. So I minimize. No different than, adding to positions that are working out well and cutting losses on positions, trading positions when they're not working well. You do the same thing with brokers. The difference is I don't like closing out any accounts. I still have an account open at TD Ameritrade. I just took out a lot of money and I don't trade it. But opening and closing accounts is a pain in the ass with paperwork. So I still have accounts at all these brokers just in case they change. SureTrader has gotten better with customer service. I'll give them credit there. But I don't want to trade with a broker unless they're really showing me signs of being useful and being good. And that is why I'm so pumped about E-Trade, because E-Trade, first of all, it's a massive broker, so it's a lot less, questionable than some offshore broker. I wish that they were open their doors to people outside the U.S., but there's nothing I can do. All I can do is try and adapt to the brokers, adapt to the trades, and do the best I can. Does that make sense about, adding money to brokers that are doing well and subtracting money to brokers that are not doing well for you? What are my thoughts on LQMT and impossible news with Samsung on March 1st? I mean, I've heard every single rumor in the world with LQMT. Now the rumor is that they're going to be working with Samsung. Maybe. I'll wait and see if the news actually comes out. If the news does come out with Samsung on LQMT, I can buy. It'll run for 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 days if the news happens. But I might have seen 2 or 3 dozen fake outs with LQMT. I'm just not biting anymore. If they don't announce the Samsung news, the stock will drop 20 or 30%, and it'll be quick. So I'd rather just not guess anymore. Unless there's a confirmed blog that has the new Samsung and it's confirmed to be liquid metal before the press release. That is the one time that I would buy before a press release. If there's some kind of confirmed report rather than just websites speculating on it. Tim, when you look at resistance and support, do you consider the volume? Because sometimes there is resistance with little volume. Um, No, I don't really look at volume. I'm mainly just focused on what is resistance and support levels. You shouldn't trade illiquid stocks. I still have problems with that because sometimes I get all excited. For example, FCCG, which owns Fat Burger, and I tried to buy it. I tried to speculate that they would have some news, or somebody would write an article. It did double, but I didn't take profits. I wanted to hold it and give it time, and it's just been coming down. Today, it's up, 20% on volume of 2,000 shares. 2,000 shares of a 30-cent stock is $600. That's too illiquid for me to trade. So I'm not interested in illiquid stocks like that. But whether you're trading like HMNY, where it's traded 140,000, so roughly $500,000 worth in 2 hours, or EYES is traded 1.7 million shares, so that's roughly $20 million worth. BIOC has traded 10 million shares at roughly 4, so $40 million worth. Any of those, 500,000, 2 million, 20 million, 40 million, those are the kinds of volume numbers that I like to see. I really have to do better and not trade illiquid stocks. My critics like to say, oh, I just buy up illiquid stocks and I pump them up. And, I've given them that ammo because I've bought illiquid stocks. I've gotten excited about news releases on stocks like MEDL. And I just have to learn to be more disciplined. I can't be, sometimes I do break my rules and I get excited about, the potential. MEDL, the freaking CEO shareholder letter says that they're working with Facebook on some secret project. Like, that is huge. But it's now been over a year since that CEO shareholder letter, and there's been no follow-up details. So as excited as I get about companies and products and partnerships, I just have to learn that they're all full of shit. And it's tough. It's tough because I want to believe in them. And, you always want to try and be the one to find the news or, to find the magic play. And the magic plays just never turn out to be what they seem. So I have to do better. Savino says, I did bought ATOS at 229. I sold it for 12 cents. Was not the goal. Yeah, I mean, if you trade imperfect patterns, you're going to get imperfect trades. That's what it comes down to with stocks like ATOS. Rentech says TD Ameritrade short sales totally suck. I agree, Rentech. It's sad. I had like $200,000. I started, when I first started teaching in late 2007, I started an account with Thinkorswim, and I put in the $12,000. And over 3 years, I grew that $12,000 to $230,000, and I split the accounts between TD Ameritrade and Interactive Brokers. And I still have, I want to say, like $200,000 at TD Ameritrade. I actually have to minimize that account. I haven't made a trade in there in, I don't know, a year or two, because they just don't have good shorts. So it kind of sucks, but that happens. The Derek Taylor says, is it true that if it looks like a pump, treat it like a pump? I mean, that's not bad. I know there are some traders like Tim Grittani where he doesn't care about the catalyst. He doesn't care about the news. He just cares about price action. I know there are some people who don't care about price action and they only care about news. Do not just follow news and ignore price action. Price action is always most important. For me, I like a combination of the two. I like, considering price action and the news. NXTD, it looked good pre-market this morning. It could have run. But when you looked at the news, it was just a rehash, a rewording of old news from a penny stock promoter. So it was kind of important to know that it was penny stock promoter news and not real news. I don't know. I don't know how to unlearn what I've learned. I focus on the news and I focus on price action. And if you ask me which is more important, then I say price action is more important between the two. The scales are tipped in the favor of price action. Tim, further to what you have said about SureTrader that their shares to short suck and you're likely to get bought in, is it more convenient to focus on going long SureTrader? Probably. I'm just, I see I get more emails from students and wannabe penny stock traders than probably anybody in the world. So I see every single issue that SureTrader has ever had when their software goes down or they give bad executions. And more than any other broker, there are complaints at SureTrader. So I'm not enthusiastic about going long as SureTrader. I'm only going to use SureTrader if they have shares to short of a stock that really no other broker has, and that's why I keep a small account open there. I understand that a lot of you guys like it to escape the pattern day trader rule. If you were actually more disciplined and followed my lessons and truly wanted to get rich instead of trying to scalp your way to riches and cheat, you wouldn't even need more than 3 day trades per week. A lot of the best trades are overnight, and you would recognize that. Like tonight, there's a good chance that I'm going to be short EYES, HMNY, and BIOC because they're all just the first down day. And if I short any or all of those overnight, none of those count as a day trade, holding a stock overnight. So you don't have to day trade as much as you think you do. You don't have to escape the pattern day trader rule as much as you think you do. I still use SureTrader. I still have an account there. I still recommend them. But out of all my brokers, they have the least trading. I will trade with them the least, and they have the smallest amount of money because I will trade with them the least. So it's different for everybody. Some of you guys have like $10,000 or $12,000, and you're like, well, SureTrader is the only one where I can escape the pattern day trader rule. Well, if you have $10,000 or $12,000, you can open up an account at, well, let's say you have $12,000. You can open up an account at Interactive Brokers for $10,000 and an account at E-Trade for $2,000. And that way you have 6 day trades per week between the two accounts. And, that's more than enough. There's no way, if you think somehow, okay, maybe you want to make more than 3 day trades per week, that's fine. But there's absolutely no way if you have a small account and you're trying to grow it. And when I say trying to grow it, I mean you're trying to make 10, 20, 30% on a trade here or there. You do not need more than 6 day trades per week. Okay? 3 I understand is kind of rough, but you do not need to be making 10, 20, 30 trades, day trades per week when you have a small account. I understand many of you guys just don't believe a word I say. Some people think that it's like too good to be true. I know that there's websites out there that say I'm a fraud because you can't find shares to short at shitty brokers. Trust me, because I know that I'm real and because I know what works to really actually get rich, scalping and trying to make $50 here or there or $100 there, that's not going to make you rich. It's going to make you frustrated. It's going to help you, believe that you have to work harder than you do. And sometimes when you're trying to scalp, you're going to be wrong and you're going to get crushed for like a 50-cent loss or a 70-cent a share loss. And then you're really going to be pissed because all of your hard work earning 2 cents, earning 4 cents, earning 10 cents here or there is going to be wiped out by 1 or 2 terrible trades. And you're going to be like, this strategy sucks, trading sucks. And in reality, it's just you're reinforcing my very own rules that scalping sucks. And I see it time and again, and it's very annoying, but this is why I teach. I like this. I like comments like this. I'm going to give it karma. This guy said, thanks for the lessons, made my first profits today. And that's cool, but I hope that it's not scalp profits. I hope that it's like, EYES shorting it at $12.90 and covering at $12.30. That is a good trade. But if you make 5 cents a share or 10 cents a share, sometimes that happens, but don't celebrate that. That's when the stock goes wrong. Let's see. Technically, on a 1-year chart, CRMD looks like a supernova. Let's take a look. I agree with that. And the problem is that It's just not moving quick enough for me, okay? It's a nice breakout, yes. Over 10 days, yes, but over what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, it's gone from 4 to 5.5. It's up 25, 30% over 5 days. Focus on stocks that are moving 25, 30% per day. You got to focus on volatile stocks. Otherwise, you're going to deal with choppy stocks, and choppy stocks lead to choppy results. Rentech says lost 16,000 on LQMT iPhone 6 media day. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, but at least you learned. When you lose 16,000 on a pattern like that, you got to say, hey, now I know what not to do, so you don't lose 16,000 again on another potential media day. Derek Taylor says, when I shorted Gene, my borrow rate was 250%, so I didn't hold through the crash. Is that rate abnormal? It's 250%, I believe, per year. And that is what E-Trade charges. I don't even know exactly how those fees work. I never hold long enough to really care. I don't hold hard-to-borrow stocks more than a day or two, at most. Most of the time, I'm intraday. So I don't worry about the borrow rates. If I can make 10, 20, 30% on a stock in a day or two, I take it. Tim, any specific reason you sort the watch list by volume? Yeah, because, I don't care if a stock is up 30% or like FCCG is up 20% today on 2,000 shares. It just doesn't make a difference. If FCCG was up 20% on 200,000 shares, I would be more interested. You have to look for stocks that are in play, stocks that are attracting a lot of traders, and that is what volume shows you. KD says, yes, I heard Tim Grittani say he does this, but I want to get your input. Is it wise to solely trade based on technical analysis and disregard news? I can't, and I wouldn't, and I'm not recommending that. Tim Grittani is a freak of nature. He is like the LeBron James of penny stocks. So what LeBron James does might not be able to be duplicated, but you can definitely learn from what LeBron does. I'm more like, I don't know, who's a good NBA player but nothing great, and who's had a long career, and who maybe had a lot of stardom at first. Kevin Garnett. I'm like Kevin Garnett. Okay, I used to have my own commercials, but then I just kind of got old and conservative, and I still play at a high level, but I'm not. Does Kevin Garnett even still play? I don't even know. Ray Allen? No, Ray Allen was still great. Ray Allen was still great even at the end of his career. Kevin Garnett isn't great anymore. He's just a decent NBA player and he coaches younger players. I'm Kevin Garnett. Let's see. Zag just broke out. Ugh, I hate Zag. It moves so slowly. It broke out, yes, and then it failed. In the 10 minutes since I saw your comment that I didn't get to it. This moves like 10, 20 cents a share. I just don't care. Okay? We have so many good plays. EYES is going to be a potential first down day. I hope that it can bounce a little. I don't want it to just fade all day because then it might bounce tomorrow. But EYES and BIOC are perfect first down days. Okay? These are great supernovas to short. HMNY has already tanked a lot, but this one should make for a good short. Focus on really volatile plays. I know that it's annoying when you don't have the right broker and you can't find shares to short. And sometimes you do have the right broker and you still can't find shares to short. Or sometimes you find shares to short and it's under the SSR. I understand that I am bringing up stocks that are annoying, but they all fit my patterns to a T. And when you have stocks that fit patterns to a T, I don't give a shit about other stocks. I'm already overwhelmed. I totally screwed up, missed out on BIOC because I'm not, frankly, used to trading 3 stocks at one time, which is what I should have done. Coulda, woulda, shoulda done. So focus on stocks with perfect patterns. Stop going out looking everywhere and being like, what about this? What about this? What about this, Tim? What about this? You don't need to guess. I've already showed you the framework. I've already showed you the blueprint. You don't need to try and, find more stuff. I've already given you the Declaration of Independence. You don't need amendments. Anyone have any potential long plays today? Not that I've seen. I didn't see any good, earnings winners, and the earnings winners recently that are potential dip buys aren't doing shit. So you have 3 really perfect shorts, and if they bounce a little or at least hold up, they'll be great overnight shorts. Would I consider ZIOP? No, because it's barely up. Look at the 10-day chart. I don't give a shit about a stock that's up $1 a share over 10 days. Focus on volatile stocks. This is the most important thing. Rentech says can't short TD account. Well, the good news is sometimes stocks that are good shorts also become good longs when they hold support. BIOC is coming back, I wouldn't be surprised to see this come all the way back and squeeze shorts. That would be fantastic. Same thing with Gene. If Gene can bounce, this might be a good long play. You just have to be careful. If you're buying a stock that probably is a good short, but it's not breaking support, so you buy it, that's not exactly, a great catalyst for to hold it for multiple days. You have to know why you're in it. So if you're buying any of these stocks because they're holding support or because they're uptrending, buy it with the knowledge that that it's not like an earnings winner or a contract winner or something that's going to double. You're just buying it for a very specific reason, for maybe a possible short squeeze. And I really would try to get out of TD Ameritrade if you can. I know some of you guys have IRA accounts and you only want to go long, but try a new account with E-Trade. If you can afford it, open an account with $2,000 or $3,000. You might be surprised at what is possible. Even if you short 1,000 shares of a stock like HMNY or 500 shares and you make, $500 to $1,000, it's pretty sweet. And yeah, you can do options too. I don't know options. I don't do options, but a lot of these stocks have options, so you can do that. I can't teach about something I don't know or something that has never made me any money, so I will not go into options anytime soon. Where do I find if a stock is under the SSR? Good question. I don't really know. I'm sure that there's software out there that tells you. I usually just find out that it's under the SSR when I try and get executed. And I hate that. Like on HMNY today. Bring out the questions, guys. You have me for an hour and a half to 2 hours every single week. I want questions prepared ahead of time. We've talked endlessly about the stocks in play right now. But what else do you want to know? I will answer anything. Any questions you have. This is the beauty of full transparency. I should mention also to watch REFR, Reefer. It's been uptrending the past few days, and it is broken out of a multi-year consolidation here at 5-ish, going all the way back to the high here was 520, the high here was 530, the high here was 520, the bounce attempt here was 535. It's now at 540, and it hit 570 yesterday. I have a small long-term position just because they're announcing some new products and it could run. It's not a fast mover. I do not have this or advise this in a short-term account, but it's probably not a bad play for the longer term. Same thing with VOXX, which is kind of steady here in the 850s, but they are announcing their GoPro competitor in the next few weeks, and that's just a waiting game. So this is why I have a long-term newsletter too. There is some ways to play for longer term spikes, but those are more guessing games and it's not an exact science. Seen any good movies of late? I saw Whiplash, pretty good. I saw The Theory of Everything, decent. No truly great movies. Snowpiercer was actually much better than expected. I saw that a few months ago. And that never got really a U.S. nationwide release because the producer got in a fight with the Weinstein brothers. Let's see. Could anticipation of good earnings be a catalyst for a run-up? No, Joller. Smack yourself in the head 5 times and get bad thoughts out of your head. I don't anticipate good earnings, and I don't want anybody to try and anticipate good earnings. Little Money says, Tim, could you kindly clarify the term broken chart? Yeah, kind of like a broken neckline. Like Gene was a broken neckline. Right here. You can see here that it was, for several days, it was basing at 870, and it was actually uptrending, creating higher lows. And then right here, it gapped down. It opened at 840, 850, and it went to 870. I was shorting it a little too early here in the 840s, but it was a broken chart. It had broken multi-day support. And even when it tried to bounce, it failed to go green, very similar to BIOC and EYES today. And when it took out the morning low, I actually got that on camera, but I, like a schmuck, covered at 811. And then later, it dropped to the 6s same day. This was the sign of a broken chart. You want that break. You want that multi-day technical crack. BIOC, yesterday's support was like 430-ish. And today, it tried to come up. It was at 415. It tried to come to the 430s and it failed. It is a broken chart. And once it took out the day low, same exact kind of thing as Gene. Pretty amazing how exact it is. Does that make sense, Little Money? Cool. Glad. I want to make sure. Every time you guys ask a question, I want to make sure it makes sense so that I'm not just talking to my laptop for no reason. Tim has the video lessons, Michael Good, as well on SSR. It's all here in the videos. There you go. I have done too many videos, and Michael Good has done a ton of videos too. It's kind of cool. Hot J says, I know you just talked about eyes. Can you explain once again entry scenarios, whether short or long? No, I'm not going to repeat myself. You have to learn to listen better. I just made a video lesson specifically on why I shorted, and I've also talked about it like 3 times. At some point today, go back and watch this webinar on demand or watch the video lesson. You got to pay closer attention. Big Ed, Tim, I try to select percent gainers each day, but a lot of what I get is different from your picks. Am I doing it incorrectly? I weed out stocks that have like acquisition news, like SFXE. I weed out a lot of bank stocks. I weed out stocks with low volume. So I try and combine big percent gainers with earnings win or contract win or, pump and dump newsletters. Like HMNY was. That way, you'll pretty much get my watch list. Derek Taylor says, once you determine your mental stop before entering a trade, is it dangerous to change the stop? Yeah. I don't like changing mental stops. I don't like to say, oh, I'll just give this some more time. That is dangerous. DJ Mako says, does support of 3 or 4 years ago really matter? Yeah. I mean, the more time frames that can act as support or resistance, that's even more important. It doesn't matter as much, a 1 year breakout or a 100-day breakout is probably more meaningful than a 3 or 4 year breakout. But I look at all breakouts. What exactly happened to CLRX after the close yesterday? Yeah, I took off CLRX from my watch list just because they did another financing after the close. I mean, this thing is like a ping pong ball. It's all over the place. I got the best shorts off here at around 225 using interactive freaking brokers. And I covered rather perfectly at 120. This was one of my best trades in the past few years, even though I only had 553 shares. But I made 46% on it, and that was a damn good trade. But they did an offering at much lower prices, so I don't know what the ping pong ball is going to do next. OJ says, how flexible are you with your support and resistance levels when making entry exits? I feel it's often more of a range. Yeah, I mean, it's more of a guidelines, really. BIOC, I mean, yesterday's low, if we look at BIOC, yesterday, I mean, it tried to take out 435 right here, and then in the afternoon, 440 was support. And if you look today, it did get up to 443 for a second, but the next minute it was down to the 430s. A few minutes later, it's down to the 420s. So you can use this support, all-day support yesterday as resistance today. If it had started going to the 440s, 450s, 460s, then support, resistance today has failed. But more or less, it failed to go back up. Same thing with EYES, where, the low right here was 1342. The afternoon low was like 1360. Today, it split the difference and got up to 1350 before fading. So it's not an exact science, but they're pretty close. Does that make sense, OJ? I'll wait to make sure you understand. Basically, play the chart. Yeah, play the chart and respect, resistance and support levels. Both of those are pretty good examples of the stock trying to bounce to yesterday's levels and failing. All right. Ninja says, Tim, you say don't anticipate earnings, but you do build a watch list on earning stocks that may or may not come into play based on the earnings schedule. I don't think I ever really anticipate earnings, and my watch list shouldn't have stocks saying they're reporting earnings tonight. I put STXS on the watch list last night because it was up after hours. I respond to price action. Lift Addict says, I missed my entry on BIOC today. Yeah, welcome to my life. Could you review failing green to red transition? I am missing something. Sure, it's the exact same thing on BIOC and EYES and HMNY. All day yesterday, all three of these stocks were strong, but they had clear support levels. EYES had clear support here at 1342 and 1350 and 1360. It opened at 13, okay? So support was broken at the morning open, but it tried to come back on EYES, and it failed. And once it started to fail, that's why I got short. BIOC, I coulda, woulda, shoulda done the exact same thing. Yesterday's support was in the 430s, 440s. It opened at 415, so support was broken, but you never really want to say, oh, let me just short right at the open because you might have a comeback. And that opens the door to a big potential loss. If you're shorting it at 415 and you're like, support is broken, and you fail to realize that a lot of the times these stocks try and come back. And you don't know if it's going to try to come back and fail or if it's going to try to come back and actually, succeed. So at 420 and it goes straight to 440 on the failure here, you got to be shorting here at 425, 415, right when it takes out the day low. This is, the exact same thing as GENE the other day when, and GENE, by the way, is tanking right now. It's actually going red on the day. Gene might be a good short later today if it can take out this multi-day support here at like 630, 625. I don't know if it has enough juice today. I hope that it holds up a little bit more. But Gene, took out the multi-day support. It opened at 840-ish. And I got so excited, I shorted it right near the open, and it went to 870. And I was sitting, and I'm like, oh, my God, what have I done? And that's why I got out so quickly at 810. I misplayed this. I got in too early. I exposed myself to losing 30 cents a share. So when I made 30 cents a share, I was happy just to be out. Today I'm much more proud of the way that I traded EYES and HMNY, although I still have to work on my covers. I still should be short HMNY and EYES. And I should have, could have, would have made $2,500 or even $3,000 today instead of $1,500. But much less stress if you understand when a stock breaks multi-day support, tries to bounce, and then fails, and you're shorting it on that failure when it starts to come down, either when it's threatening to take out the day low or when it actually does. Gene bounced from 810 to 820s for like 5 minutes here. And that would have been an ideal time to get short and cover into the crack of 8 into like the 760s. So this GENE crack, EYES, HMNY, and BIOC, they're all four are the exact same pattern. It's actually pretty amazing how exact it is. And I've now profited on, there's 4 of them, I profited on 3 out of 4. Could have done better, but more importantly, I'm showing you the exact pattern by which to trade. Can I take a look at THRX? I don't give a shit about a stock that's up from 15 to 18. Yes, maybe it's a double top, maybe not. It's not in my price range. It's not volatile. And I don't know what it's going to do. It might be a double top here at 18. It might not. You can't be so sure about bigger companies. Focus on crappier companies that are pumped up. You'll be much happier. Tim, what happened to that NXT promoter from this morning? I called him out in the chat room, and then he was quiet. Brooksy says, Tim, can you help me understand why a company like CLRX is doing a public offering? Yeah, public companies can do financings at any time. They can just raise money. And that's what CLRX does. An IPO is just the initial public offering. A public offering is not initial. That's why it's a PO, not an IPO. How are you shorting on the failure with SSR in place? Very choppy. The HMNY did not get enough of a spike for me to get a big position. Out of all 4 examples, this one barely bounced, and I got short into the one bounce that it had. And I only shorted 1,300 shares out of the 3,000 that I wanted, and I covered into this nice panic for 40, 50 cents a share profit. Tim, you just said Gene could be a potential short after breaking support. What would be your decision to to actually short after its support breaks. Um, Gene is tough because you have many fake outs both ways. You think that it's going to crack support and then it doesn't. I like the fact that it took out the morning low at 654, but even now it's look at this. There's a 10K buyer at 650. So it's putting up one hell of a fight. And I don't know if they're just luring me in or if it's going to break it. I think I'm probably going to wait and I'll risk missing it. I'll wait till like 625 support, 620 cracks, because it could still bottom at 615. The key to shorting Gene is when it's going to take out $6 a share is going to be a massive stop loss place. So I think when it breaks 6, it's going to drop 30, 40, 50 cents a share pretty quickly. But you have to put yourself in a position to be shorting it when it cracks 6. And, if you want to try and cheat the pattern and get a better average and short right now at 652 and say, oh, eventually it's going to crack 6. Yeah, you might be right. Or it's going to might be forming a double bottom and it's going to go back to the 8s. So I don't want to risk it and I don't want to rush it with this one because big traders have lost millions of dollars shorting this. They might not show it on Twitter, but I know a lot of big traders who got creamed. And some, maybe they got creamed and they made some money back or maybe now they're even positive. But the fact that so many big traders were wrong for so long, myself included, I shorted it way too many times too early, makes me not want to be aggressive on this one, as opposed to a stock like HMNY, where I don't think there's any or very many big traders on this one. And, it was pretty easy to spot the fact that it was going to fail. And part of the reason why I didn't trade BIOC is because I know there are so many big traders. And EYES was just easier because this stock has such a bad longer term chart that you're going to have so many bitter people who just want to sell into any spike. So you kind of have to look at a stock's history to judge how good of a short it's going to be. Is SF? I love that so many of you guys are looking at SFXE. You have to look at the news, okay? Tim Grittani, damn you. Damn you, Tim Grittani, for telling people that news doesn't matter. That's one thing I disagree with him about. And, SFXE is an earning or acquisition guessing game. They got the offer to go get taken private. And I don't know what's going to happen in boardrooms and candid emails. But I don't play that guessing game. So I don't want you to either. Does it make sense to place a limit order to cover at a target price in case it reaches it? Maybe. I don't know. I don't really do that. But I had a goal when I was shorting EYES today, that it was going to take out 13 and then it was going to panic right here. It was going to take out the morning low, 1290, 13, and then there would be a lot of stop losses. And that's exactly what happened. And I covered pretty quickly in here into this mess. I missed an extra 30 cents, but now you can see it's bouncing a little bit. So it's scary to short a stock like EYES. Look at this, 1290 now. Keep coming back. This is not a guaranteed first down day. Remember that. Just because we got a nice morning panic, that's pretty much near best case scenario. Now I hope it bounces as much as possible, And then once it takes out 1230-ish, probably tomorrow, then it'll have a nice stop losses at 12, and I'll look to cover here in the mid-11s. That would be my goal if I had to guess, but it's still early in the day. Does your 7-step framework apply only to pumps? I mean, it works kind of in general for any stock that has a tremendous run-up. It's kind of amazing how well the 7-step framework still works. But it really applies to pump and dumps. So watch it. It is on my penny stocking framework DVD. Young Dre says, I creating the bionic eye, giving sight to the blind cyborg style. I agree. Eyes has a great story. But that doesn't diminish the fact that it's, got a perfect chart for short selling today, as evidenced by its dollar a share drop. And so many people banked. I'm so proud of so many students on that one. ANMM says, what is your advice if I can only trade in the afternoon? That's cool. So, position yourself for ideally cracks of the day low. It's a short, looking for a break of the day low, or buying for stocks that break out to new highs. If you remember on my last live trading webinar, we were watching CAPN right here at 480. And right when the webinar began, I was like, this might break 480. And right as I said that, it was at 485. I tried to switch screens to go buy at Interactive Brokers, and it was already in the fives. And this was a nice breakout, an afternoon breakout after a morning dip. And, it went from 485 to 685 in the same day. This is the kind of trade that you want to do in the afternoon. Tim, what is your advice on after-hours trading? Sometimes I'll cover my shorts or sell along pre-market or even after hours. But I very rarely do after-hours trading. It's just too illiquid. And sometimes you'll see an earnings winner spike a lot after hours, like STXS, and then when the market opens and real volume comes in, it goes nowhere. So I wouldn't really want to initiate a position in after hours, but I would use it to close a position. What's for lunch? Probably sushi. Anyways, guys, congrats to so many of you on so many trades today, whether you're partaking or if you missed a trade, at least you were there for it, or if you're not trading and you just saw it. We have so many plays right now, so many different ways to make a few hundred or make a few $1,000s in a few minutes or a few hours. And remember, I know it sounds crazy, but if you can make $1,000 1,000 times, you are a millionaire. And obviously, you're going to have losses sometimes, so it's not an exact science, but that's it. If you make 1,000 or 2 in a day, you have learned all of my secrets. And I'm not saying making 1,000 or 2 randomly or scalping, or dumb luck. But if it's on a pattern from my DVDs or video lessons where you can see this pattern happen again and again and again, like BIOC, EYES, GENE, and HMNY, where you have these perfect morning panics, that's the secret to making a lot of money. Predictability and repetition over and over and over again for months, if not years. And you're not going to become a millionaire in a year. You're not going to become a millionaire in a month. But the cool thing is that these patterns repeat. There will always be plays, and you just need to be prepared. So get a freaking brokerage account, either at my high net worth broker if you have 30,000, and again, send an email to admin@timothysykes.com if you want an intro. Have Interactive Brokers or my new favorite broker, E-Trade. If you can't afford any of those and you want to trade like a maniac and you want to escape the PDT rule, then by all means have a SureTrader account, but understand SureTrader is not meant for U.S. residents, so you have to talk to your own accountant and advisor to see if it fits you. But if you don't have these brokers, you will have less of a chance of finding shares to short. And that is not cool when there's so many good plays. I want you to be able to short these. And some of you guys who don't like shorting, fear not. You can buy on panic and buy on dips. If you look at, a stock like EYES, when it's down from 14.5 all the way to 12.5, look, it's also bounced 50 cents a share off of the day lows. Okay? I wouldn't do this kind of a trade, but when it tried to take out the day low here midday at 12:30, and it failed to break down, and then it's here in the 1230s and it's failing to break down, somebody who doesn't like to short, somebody who wants to be speculative, feel free to dip buy it here at 1240 and say, you know what? Let me dip buy it here at 1240. If it starts downtrending, let me get out at 1235, lose 5 cents a share. And if you bought it right here at 1240, you never would have had a loss, and now it's at 1280, 1290. You sell your 1,000 shares, you make $400. So there's always ways to make money on the long and short side. It depends on what you're most comfortable with, what you're set up with, but please, please, please focus on volatile stocks. They allow, these 40 cent a share swings very easily, as opposed to a stock where it might have good news with Samsung like LQMT and it's a guessing game, or it's a stock that moves maybe $1 a share over in the course of an hour, or $1 a share over the course of 10 days. You need to focus on volatile penny stocks, and you need to focus on the ones, ideally, that I teach you, because I have worked my ass off over 15 years categorizing these patterns and refining them. And it's pretty amazing, when they work time and again. So anyways, guys, Michael Good is starting his webinar in 10 minutes. So you get 2 Trading Challenge webinars today. Did you guys enjoy Tim Grittani's webinar yesterday? I haven't gotten a chance to watch it, but you now have access to close to 24 Tim Grittani webinars. And no matter what you think of me or Michael Good or anybody, Tim Grittani is a shining example of what's possible with penny stocks, turning a few thousand into a few million in a few years. And, you guys should be memorizing every single one of his webinars, because he is the single most successful trader in the entire world who can back it up trade by trade over the past 5 years. So just understand that. And he's trading these exact same stocks, these exact same patterns. He's doing his own thing. He's got his own rules, and he's actually become a better trader than me. But, between those nearly 24 webinars, I think that's close to 30 hours of Tim Grittani speaking. And, that webinar that he gave when he lost 300,000, in which he's come back entirely from his loss. They're just so incredible. So I'm so honored to have him as a student, and now, as a co-mentor in the Trading Challenge. I'm so glad that he's paying it forward. I know a lot of people, I know some of my top students who don't like to talk about the money they've made with my strategy publicly. So I'm very thankful that he's willing to be transparent. And you guys really just should be thankful that he's willing to teach you. He doesn't have to. He's already made his millions. He can go off in the distance and continue making millions and never be public again. So please, when he gives a webinar, even when Michael Good, my first millionaire student, gives a webinar, be very grateful and gracious. I have thick skin. You can say whatever you want to me. But, with these other guys, they put in so much time and effort to try and change your life too. So I really just want you to appreciate it. So anyways, thank you guys. Again, I'm losing my voice, as you can hear. I'm sorry for my internet problem. Sorry for being late. Sorry my life is crazy, but this is it. Congrats to everybody who saw these patterns live today and were prepared to take advantage of them. They're great volatility right now. There's many plays every single day, so it's like fire at will if you know the patterns and if you're prepared, if you have the right brokers. I gotta go, Michael.